Don't interrupt me. This is very delicate work.
Perhaps I should give it a try.
Listen, I'm actually quite good at this. Oh, hey there. Welcome to the Nerdy Photographer Podcast. I'm your host, Casey Fatchett. If you've never listened to the show before, welcome. I appreciate you stopping by. If you want to go back and dive into the back catalog of episodes, head over to nerdyphotographer.com/podcast, where you can find our most popular back episodes as well as good places to start, depending on how far back you want to go. If this is your 10th time listening to the show, I'm very grateful. Be sure to get your card punched after the episode so that your next episode is absolutely free. In addition to providing entertaining and informative photography-related information, I also go on adventures with the crew of the Starship Fibonacci. At the moment, Fib and I are trying to gain access to find a missing artifact in an ancient alien storage facility. The problem is that opening the lock involves intricately balancing a number of different stones on top of each other.
Go ahead. Keep talking. No need to worry about how long this is taking.
You're not helping. Speaking of balance, in this episode, I speak with portrait photographer Holly Lund about striking a balance between your creative vision as a photographer and your client's needs. All of that after the break.
Will wonders never cease?
O ye of little faith. Do you have your own website? Are you tired of dealing with slow loading pages and poor support from your current web hosting company? Consider switching to SiteGround, the top rated web hosting company that provides 24/7 support and super fast hosting speeds. SiteGround's platform is built on the premium Google Cloud infrastructure, ensuring top reliability, security, and speed for your website. Their fast network and storage provide optimal site speed and a high level of redundancy, so you can trust that your website will be up and running smoothly at all times. With SiteGround's ultra-fast server setup, your pages will load 30% faster on average, giving your visitors a better user experience and improving your website's SEO. And with hosting starting from just $199 per month, it's affordable for any budget. Plus, if you're not completely satisfied, SiteGround offers a 30-day money-back guarantee. Don't suffer with a terrible web hosting company any longer. Make the switch to SiteGround and experience top-level support, super fast hosting, and a reliable, secure platform for your website. I spent years with a web hosting company that was absolutely terrible. My site was constantly getting hacked and support was nearly impossible to get a hold of. Since switching to SiteGround, all of those problems are in the past. Just visit nerdyphotographer.com/recommends/SiteGround or click the link in the episode notes to get started and begin enjoying faster, more reliable web hosting today. Hey photographers. Tired of spending hours culling, editing, and publishing your photos? Narrative does it all for you faster and smarter. With AI photo culling, you can quickly sort through thousands of images to find the best shots. With AI editing, you can customize edits to match your personal style effortlessly. And with publishing made simple, you can share stunning blogs with ease. Save time, stay creative, and let Narrative handle the heavy lifting. When you use the link in the episode notes to try Narrative, you get 10% off and an additional 200 credits for edits. What are you waiting for? Try Narrative today. Visit the link in the episode notes and get started for free. Hello and welcome to the Nerdy Photographer Podcast. I'm your host, Casey Fatchett, and I'm here today with photographer Holly Lund. Holly, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Casey. Happy to be here.
And we're going to start off with the dice breaker, and it's a 17 best photography purchase or investment that you've ever made.
Ooh, gosh. Oh, man. Best one that I've ever made. I think honestly, I'm gonna have to be going with education. I'm kind of somebody that believes that learning never ends. If you think you've crossed the finish line, you've done it wrong. Always keep moving those goalposts forward.
Yeah, I mean, there's always something new to learn, and I think that and we should always be, adapting. I see a lot of people who talk about like, oh, I don't want to do X, Y, or Z thing, but and I'm like, well, if you want to, I don't know, like if it's fine. If you're in business and it's like something that people are demanding, then you need to kind of adapt a bit. to it, but also there's just, you're never gonna exhaust the number of tools or things that you could learn about when it comes to photography. There's always something new to learn, and that's just going to expand your tools from which to create with.
100%. And, we live in the era of technology changes on a dime. So, next week there could be something brand new we all have to get on board with.
Exactly. I mean, I remember starting using. I've probably been using Photoshop since it came out because when I was very young, uh, I my brother worked in a computer lab, and I would go there and they had Photoshop on it, and I would just use it for an hour, just like making drawings because you couldn't upload a photo to it, um, unless you like had a scanner to scan something in, and even then it was like super low resolution. But to just see how even that like stuff has changed in recent years, um, to like with AI or like just the tools that are available to photographers to work on their photos.
100%. I agree.
So for people who are unfamiliar, could you give us just like a little bit of your background in photography?
Sure. So I started taking photography seriously. Oh gosh, I probably want to say back in 2018. But very much the cliche of grew up with a camera in my hand type of thing. But yes, 2018 is really when I started investing in that education piece, taking a look at what gear I had. Did it make sense? Did I need to add anything new? Um, and I knew that I wanted to focus on portraits.
Mm.
And just through different pieces of trial and error, I ended up focusing on photographing children. By extension, have done some families, but primarily I work with kids.
So you consider yourself more an artistic portrait photographer. Is that correct?
I do. I do. And, there's a lot of, ways you could define that. A lot of people throw out the term fine art portrait photographer, right?
I hear that so much.
That could lend itself to a specific style of editing, a specific style of shooting. But I think, yes, I would say that I fall under that umbrella.
Well, I mean, how would you define the difference between artistic photography and say like consumer photography? Where do you think the line between those two is?
Sure. That is going to vary from person to person, right? So this is my own personal definition of that. That artistic photography or fine art photography really comes from the artist's vision. And anybody working with that photographer really trusts in what they do. There's a lot of storytelling and preparation that goes into it. And let's say that consumer photography, especially in the realm of where I sit with children and family, that's a lot more high volume. It could surround
Mm.
holidays, the quote unquote mini sessions, if you will. It's almost a comparison of quality versus quantity. And
Mm.
that's not to say one is better than the other. It's just a different focus.
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, here's how I would expand on that: is that like yeah, the focus is there is on different things. In the what you're terming artistic, there's more time spent with the individual subject, and you're kind of working on this vision of things. Whereas in the consumer model, uh, mini sessions are a great example. I mean, it's like, I'm going to do 16 sessions today, so it's like you're not spending a huge amount of time with each person or group of people. Like you have kind of a set thing, and you're not like, we're not getting into exploring this situation artistically because you have 20 to 25 minutes to get your photos in, and that's where there's a difference. When people bring up fine art, it's I don't know. I feel like it's one of those things that I'm in mostly in wedding photography, and I used to hear like fine art wedding photographer or whatever. And I'm like, well, what do you think makes it fine art? And you'd see people get just like stumped by it, like I don't know, they just like heard that as a catchphrase, and so they just slapped it on there and be like, oh, this makes me seem more important, or I can charge more money because I'm a quote unquote fine art photographer. But I feel like what you're talking about is in that sense of creation of something that when we look back on all forms of visual arts and you have like paintings and whatever, like they did and drawing, whatever, that they kind of, from the fine art perspective, it sort of trickles down into the consumer zone, like the look, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
It's sort of like the Devil Wears Prada when she's explaining the blue,
Yes. Yes.
that it comes from one place. Like, there's a trend there in the artistic community, and it sort of it flows downward into this consumer world where, like you said, there's more emphasis on quantity, but there's still like this look or this fad or this trend that gets picked up from the more like the fine art photography world generally.
Yeah, definitely. You see more trends in the consumer side of things because, like I said, the to me, artistic is coming from that individual artist. For me, that is my own vision, and that's drawn from my own inspirations. You can also even look at it as something that is just right out of the box versus something that is custom. It is commissioned. It is unique to the individual client.
Yeah, I think that's also, and when you're talking to photographers, when they want to use that terminology, I think that that it really comes from the artists themselves, and like you said, people trusting you and trusting your artistic vision, and as opposed to, I think, sort of like, okay, this is what we're looking for, which maybe there's 10 or 20 people who can do this shoot that I'm looking for, but I'm just kind of looking for the one that's, I kind of like their take on it the most, as opposed to like just throwing themselves completely at the mercy of the artist.
Sure.
So when it comes to like this, I have like what I feel are my artistic side of my photography work and my client side. The things that I'm sort of like, I'm working together with the client. I'm I'm trying to get what they want as well. Like
Mhm.
I'm taking
Yep.
their considerations into it. How do we try to successfully balance both satisfying the customer with the artistic vision?
Sure. So, and let's assume that, the client understands and has looked at, your portfolio. They understand your vision, and that's already a match, right? But from there, I really like to have a discovery call, even before booking.
Mhm.
But then also have a full on consultation prior to the shoot itself so that not only can I gather information from them about the direction that we want to go in and marry our visions together, but also getting to know them individually. Because then, when you're really establishing that personal relationship with them, you're going to end up synergizing together. And I think it also lends itself to building a bit more trust as well, so that if there is a slight excuse me, disagreement, perhaps you could lead them into something where, they rely on your expertise.
I think that's a really excellent. You're making me look at my own work differently. Like just in having this conversation and how I present it, because I mean, that really is like that's. I mean, how I've been doing this for years is getting to know my clients. Like even like you said in the discovery call, you're talking to them and like finding out things about them. And it took me a long time to realize that not every person was right for me
Hmm.
because I wasn't the right person for them, or that they were like we were not on the same page. Some people needed like a type A, like somebody who's going to come in and just like shout orders, and that's just not how I work with people.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so like when I would realize that, I'm like, nope, I don't think I'm the right person. I'll recommend you to someone who I know who does that. But it is that getting to know people first, then they book, and then I have a whole thing of like sending out a questionnaire to them to like really get to know more about their story, things they like, for the exact same reason. And we have a consultation about it as well, and we talk about how like how they met, how they what their favorite movies are, what their favorite music, what was the best meal they ever had, because I start to learn more and more things about them. That way I can deal with, like you said, like, there's, I wouldn't call it a disagreement, but like we're in a situation where I'm trying to take their photo and I want them to feel more relaxed. I can throw out a line from their favorite movie.
Right.
Or, I also know, like, what I have an idea of what their aesthetic is. Is their favorite meal to like going out and having beer and some wings? Or is it, like going to a Michelin star rated restaurant? Like, they're
Sure.
like what they enjoy more. Which of those things? So I have a feeling of what they get more out of.
Yeah. And, with my focus being kids, I include them in this process as well. Definitely the discovery call is more with the parents,
Right.
but bringing them in for that in person consultation, I'm also getting to know the kids
Yeah.
because inevitably they're going to be the ones in front of my camera. So I have to gain their trust as well, but see how they work.
Yeah.
Kind of get an understanding for their personality, what is going to motivate them. Listen, I am not above bribes, candy, whatever it may be. But these are the important things to know to see like what will motivate them, especially, the really little ones.
I think that it's important for photographers and who, like, you brought up a really important point about, you're dealing with mostly with kids. Whoever you're dealing with, understanding the way in which you communicate with them, because I've seen photographers who do, like, one, like, who treat all of their subjects the exact same way, and I've also watched photographers who treat, like, who have a way of speaking with kids, who have a way of speaking with, teenagers, young adults, like, then up the line, and just understanding who you're working with and how you need to communicate with them. And to, like you said, sometimes you need to bribe them. Like, for me, it's commonly a bribe to, like, hey, if groomsmen at the wedding, if you listen to me, the more you listen to me and we get this done faster, the sooner you can be at the bar having a drink. And that works 99% of the time. But yeah, just understanding your clients, who your client is, or who your subject is, as necessarily, like you're saying, with the client is not the child that you're photographing, but getting to know them. Like I said, I think it's the same across all sorts of genres. Earning that trust is super important.
Yeah. And I will say I do something pretty similar with the kids, except I don't bribe them with the bar. I bribe them with the door out of here. The quicker we finish this, the quicker you can leave.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's the whole thing of, like, I have done, I'm not, definitely not my specialty, but I've done family portraits and other pictures, and that is commonly, like, with the teenagers. I'm like, hey, I can tell that you are not thrilled about being here. But if you want to get out of here fast, best, like, if you can give me, 15 minutes of, like, your best energy, we'll be out of here really quickly. Yeah. So I have a question. You mentioned, like, your people were coming to you predominantly for your vision of things and how you photograph things. I think that I get a lot of that as well, just in the way that I present myself through my portfolio online and like that. But have you ever had someone come to you with expectations that were, like, the complete opposite of your style?
I think because my style is so precise in what it is and stands out in a particular way that um I don't get that too often. One thing I will get are requests for like holiday photos, and
Mm,
that's not really up my alley. I do say that I will do them, but they're not probably what they're familiar with in the way that it is set up, the way that they've probably done in the past with other photographers, kind of following that consumer model, right? So I would love to do a gorgeous fine art painterly looking type of holiday session, but it's going to follow the same structure that I do with any other type of portrait session.
Right. It's not going to be like, yeah, it's not you're coming in for your 20 minutes and like sitting in this like setup, like,
Santa's not going to be there.
right.
You know?
Yeah. I had somebody contact me about that because I mean, my name is known in my area as a photographer, and so people will recommend me, and just not knowing my style, but they just know who I am, and then I'm a photographer. And on these local Facebook groups, and I had somebody say like, "Oh, we're looking for a holiday portrait," and somebody recommended me, and the person messaged me and was like, "So, do you have a Santa you work with?" And I was like, "No, no, I
I wouldn't
don't."
even know where to begin if I were to find one.
I mean, if people see me, I look like Santa. I mean, a bit. I've got a big white beard, but like, no, I don't have a Santa that I work with, and I think it's like that understanding of I've had people contact me about newborn photos
Mhm.
in the past, and I'm very quick to say like, listen, I am not the person who's bundling up your newborn, and swaddling them and putting them in like a little basket. Those are not the photos that I take of newborns. Like I take very candid lifestyle-y photos of people holding the baby, those sorts of things, and then trying to explain. They're like, but no, I want this. And I'm like, well, that's not me. Um,
Yep.
that's it. And being, I think that the photographers, I see a lot of people who sort of freak out about that. Like they're like, oh, I have to do it this way because that's what people want,
Right.
instead of trusting in their own style and saying, well, this is what I want to do and this is what I'm going to do. And yeah, it doesn't mean I'm going to get you know, every person who comes to me. Like I don't have to like change who I am for every client who comes to me.
And I think I take that honestly as an educational moment for clients as well. Because similarly, I've had some people ask if I will do newborns. And again, no, that's not something that I do, but I can certainly recommend somebody that specializes in that. And what I mean when they say specialize is that they've done this for a number of years. They have specific training. They know specifically how to work with newborns. When this is a big safety concern a lot of the time. You
Yeah.
want to be going to a photographer that has expertise in this and not just any photographer. So situations similar to that where I can guide them and make recommendations and help them understand that not all photographers all do the same kind of thing.
Right.
I'm happy to share that kind of information with them.
Yeah. Again, it's that whole thing of like you're not the right person for everybody, and everybody's not the right client for you, and being willing to understand that and sort of like you move past it. I think that definitely in my early years as a photographer, I struggled with that because I was just like, wow, I got to keep getting the jobs, and I got to keep forcing myself to like keep doing the thing. Um, Even though it was like a part time job, I was like, I gotta have, I gotta book everybody. I gotta book everybody, instead of realizing that I was, the best advice that I ever got was, um, people always say like, oh, you only need to get 2% to be like a successful at whatever. Like you only need to get 2% of people to book or whatever the thing is. And that's like throwing a huge net out into everybody, thinking of it that way, instead of I need to get 100% of the 2% of people who are right for me. If that,
Exactly. Yeah.
like that's, and if you just find yourself saying yes to everybody to try to please them and get every possible job, you're going to end up resenting your clients and being mad at yourself later
Yeah,
on.
that takes the joy out of it and why you got into this in the first place.
Yeah, there's no like it's the same person who gave me that advice said to me at one point, like, stop posting the photos that you don't want to take on your portfolio.
Oh, exactly, because that's just going to attract
Right.
more of those people. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. They're going to see the photos that you don't like taking, and they're going to ask you to take more of those because you're showing them off, saying like, "Hey, look, I take this." Um, so I was like, "Oh, that's really wow. I hadn't thought of it that way." I mean, it's just so simple in the sense that he said like, "Oh, just like slowly, just phase them out. Like you don't have to just like stop doing it all of a sudden, but just like post less and less of them." And you'll find that you're getting more of the people who want the to hire you for the things that you like to do.
Exactly. And I've had a number of photographers ask me something very similar around um, showcasing different editing styles because they haven't necessarily honed in on one. Then they're not sure if they want to hone in on one. They're still trying to figure out what their particular style is. And I give very similar advice. Keep at it. When you start to find that you are narrow down your portfolio. When you're finding that consistency, show off that consistency.
Yeah, and it's possible for you to change your mind.
It is.
You can like I at one point changed like the style of black and whites that I was doing. Like it was like toned slightly differently, and I was like, you know what, and people are like, well, what did you do with your website? I'm like, I went back and changed all of those photos in my portfolio that were black and whites and toned them to my new style. Like I didn't go through every blog post, but like what was on the portfolio part of my website, I changed so that the style matched. It takes a little bit of work, but like you don't have to be afraid of changing. You can grow and decide things later on. Like, hey, I want to do this slightly differently now.
Yeah, and that's just part of our evolution as artists.
And I think that a lot of photographers start off, they're like, I'm desperate to make money at this. I'm so they kind of do the consumer thing. Like I'm just going to like try to get as quantity, 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 and then they aspire to be more themselves. And
Mhm.
like I'm going to be more artistic in that sense of like I'm going to create my own vision for this and how I want to do it. Do you have any advice for making that transition? Like because like how we would go from kind of I feel like we need to make the uh, statement that like we're not putting down anybody who works in primarily like consumer style photography. You can still be pretty high end and wonderful, and but there's also like there is that sort of quantity component to it. Um, but what would your advice be for trying to like to transition from being the sort of I don't know like the I'm trying to think of a non-offensive way of describing this. 'Cause
Right.
I'm really like trying. Like, I don't like think poorly of this type of photography. It just it has its place, but like people going from sort of like the trends to being their own person, being
Sure.
their own
Yeah,
artist.
and it's definitely kind of scary in a way to go off and do your own thing and not do what everybody else is doing in a way, right? And coming out and saying, this is what I see and this is how I want to do it. And I don't really care what anybody else is doing. Um, a good piece of advice that I have for that is really building up your confidence. And how are you going to do that? Practice. So you have to make time to play. You have to figure out what that voice is and what story you want to be telling. You have to hone in on the things that inspire you and taking those bits and converting them into photographs. You just have to do it. Play with your light, play with different props, play with different styling. Um, talk with makeup artists, talk with hairstylists, bring them in to collaborate with you. The more you do that, the more you're going to be confident in what it is that you are creating for yourself. And then in turn, you're going to be more confident in presenting that to a potential client. And when you really hone in on the things that speak to you, you're going to find the audience of people who have those things speak to them as well.
Yeah, I think that that's when you talk about practice and on any level of what you're doing, any creative endeavor, you're practicing, you're getting to know your camera, you're getting to know your lighting, you're getting to know the other people who might be involved in this, in the work, like you were saying, like hair and makeup people or stylists or whoever it is. Like you're getting to understand so that when I always tell people like that what you don't want to be figuring it out when you've got a client there.
Mhm.
Like it's whether it's, what your style is or whether it's how to use that new flash that you got. Um, you don't want to be figuring it out in front of the client. That's what makes you professional. Is that you can walk in, you are confident in yourself and your abilities and your vision for what this is going to be, and you don't have to. Uh, I don't know what a good word here would be. Flounder around a bit to kind of like, oh well, there's a difference between playing as a photographer and being like, oh well, let's try. We've got what I feel like are the, I have this is something that I try to do is like, okay, we're going to get like the set photos that we were trying to get. We originally set out, but we also spend a little time just being, we're going to try something else, but being confident about that playfulness. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. 100%.
Like, oh, we're going to do this thing. I think it's going to be great or it might not be, who knows? But we're going to try it out. We're going to spend 5, 10, 15 minutes just doing this thing. That it, after I know we've got the safe photos, those are like, this is what we originally intended to get, but maybe we're going to find something else. But having that confidence to do it and not just be like, oh, well, I'm going to try a few different things here and I don't know, how it's going to turn out. That makes you look less, less confident, less, professional, less like, what you're doing. I think, yeah, it's like building your confidence by practicing and understanding all of the different elements is what can set you apart and also gives your clients, your subjects, a much more pleasant experience.
Yeah, and I also advocate for trying things out. Do model calls. You don't have to set aside time to play with clients.
Yeah.
A lot of photographers in my niche definitely have kids of their own, and that can be difficult sometimes trying to wrangle them to cooperate. But put out model calls, work with different people that you maybe normally don't work with. Um, what else? Let's see. Don't be afraid to fail
Mm.
either. I see a lot of times when people put out model calls and then they look at their images and they're like, this was my one shot. I'm like, what do you mean your one shot? Like, are you dead? Like, no, do another one. Now you know what not to do. You still learned something
Yeah.
from doing that session, that you're going to grow from it. Maybe you don't have an image that you can use, but maybe next time you will.
Right. But now you also understood what mistake you made or what didn't get you to where you wanted to be. This is such a common theme amongst the episodes. Like, I don't know if listeners are getting tired of hearing it, but this has been such a common theme lately amongst like the last, I don't know how many episodes where we're talking about like, you don't be afraid to make mistakes or like to
Yeah.
try stuff, try new things. And I want to clarify when I was talking about being playful with clients, like developing whatever that style is outside in your practice first so that you are confident in it when you like bring it up as something extra to do with the
Sure.
client. So that you're not just sort of looking like you're kind of going, well, hey, let's try something. Um, it's yeah, it might lead to images that you didn't expect to get, but you had already worked out the style ahead of time by practicing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like get out there and like make mistakes. It's how you learn to, not make mistakes in the future, or how you learn to I think that to handle situations better. And we just had a episode a little while back where we were talking about like the photographer I was speaking to said, that she was like 90% a problem solver, and she learned those how to solve those problems by making the mistakes. And so,
Because when you make the mistake, it's gonna like be engraved into your brain
yeah,
because
yeah,
you actually have that foundational memory of it and not wanting to do that again, as opposed to, oh, let's just have, a mental checklist of things that have never happened
oh yeah,
before, and you're probably gonna forget five of them. So mistakes are probably the best learning tool you have.
yeah. It's and like you said, you learn from doing it, and in that way, when you've made, like you said, you made that mistake, you remember, you absolutely remember. Like it's there's a reason I like furiously check, to make sure I have all my batteries and memory cards with me, three times before I leave the house to go to a shoot. Because I'm always like,
Been
oh
there.
yeah, because
It's happened.
you made that mistake once, and then you're like, oh, and I made the mistake with the memory cards once. I was on my way, and I stopped, and I went to my bag, and was like, nope, not there. Turned around, and luckily it was not too far. I went back, got my cards. But I have been there where I maybe didn't have enough batteries for what the shoot was going to require, and I was, like coasting in on like the last few fumes of charge at the end. But now it's like, okay, I've got a whole like battery holder for all my camera batteries that I take with me to every shoot because and I always check it, like everything charged, everything, in the bag. Um, because you make that mistake once and you're like, yep, not going to happen again.
100%.
So we talked a little bit about trends and like how consumer photography follows trends. Do you feel like social media influences the sort of divide between what we would call consumer photography and artistic photography, and like making images that you feel fit your own personal artistic vision as opposed to producing images that appeal to people via social media? Not that your artistic photos shouldn't appeal to people. They will appeal to the people who, want to be your clients. But like, I think there's this sort of mentality of trying to create for this other audience on social media instead of the people who are going to hire you.
Right. Yeah. And I think we're in a very interesting time with social media as well. I think a lot of people are starting to feel a bit burnt out by it, both those of us who are posting and those of us who are consuming. I definitely struggled when things started to shift to video
Mhm.
because I am not one for getting on camera. I am not one to kind of get out there and perform. I'm not the one coming up with skits. I'm not coming up with whatever you can think of that tends to be popular and go viral with video, right? I'm a photographer. I want to show off my work. Sure, I can do some behind the scenes, but is that the stuff going viral? No. But I think that begs a bigger question is what is the purpose you want to have on social media? Do you
Mm.
want to go viral or do you want to attract the audience that is going to become your client? And I chose the latter. So, do I have a smaller following, a smaller community of people? Yes, but they appreciate what I do. And still to this day, um, I want to say like 80% of my clients come from Instagram.
See, that's the thing. It's like I think that it's advice I give frequently is like, your posts, if you're listen, I tell people like they ask like, why didn't you just do this nerdy photographer under my business like Instagram account? And I was like, no, these are two vastly different things. Here I am talking to photographers. There I am talking to potential clients. Like these are the like very different. I'm saying very different things. I'm communicating in a different way. I want different things. Yes, for my business account, I want people to see that, like, I am trying to attract clients via that. I'm trying to, like, let people know who I am. I'm in the sense of being their photographer. Here, I'm speaking to other photographers and talking about how I can help them, like on the nerdy photographer stuff. And it's I constantly see people trying to impress other photographers instead of potential clients.
Right. And I mean, if other photographers are going to become your clients,
Right.
by all means, I've had plenty. And I love each and every one of them. But if other photographers who are on a completely different coast from you or in a completely different country from you, are they going to book you? That's the question.
Right. Like they're not the people who are paying your bills. Like if you're doing it as like a job, they're not, the other photographers are not the ones generally hiring. I have had some photographers hire me for different things, but for the most part, it's just a like a supportive community, that's wonderful. But yeah, they're not the ones who are going to be, the majority of my business. Um, I have a question that kind of comes out, like, if you're looking for more than just admiration from people online and your artistic work that you're putting out there on social media or on your website or whatever, how can you market that, the art part of it, instead of just like saying, like, you are going to be paying for this art as a client, as opposed to saying, like, oh, this is just something to look at and kind of go, that's interesting. Does that question make sense?
It does, yeah. You can't necessarily rely on just the image itself. Sometimes you have to be a little bit of a wordsmith.
Mhm.
What do they say? Photography is only 10% of being a photographer,
Mhm.
right? So you really have to think about your caption, and that's for a number of reasons, right? Like what you write in your caption is going to help put your post in front of the right audience and I'm making sure you understand what that audience wants to see and to read. So a lot of the times I will share the story behind that particular image if I can, or give it a hypothetical so they can imagine themselves, their family, their child in a similar portrait. So, one of the things that I like to include when I'm doing my consultation with my clients is to find something meaningful to them to include. So, that could be a family heirloom, it could be a particular piece of jewelry, it could be, let's say, a color that means something to them. It could be any number of different kinds of things that will not always be immediately obvious to anyone else, but it stands out to them. They know that story. So when I'm kind of giving um, the storytelling of that image on social media, now their wheels are turning of, oh, if I wanted to do this, what would I include?
Right.
I've talked about doing like heritage portraits. So, what is your background? Do you have any kind of cultural wardrobe that maybe you would want to incorporate? Or if you come from multiple different backgrounds, how would you put them all together to tell that unique story? So it's kind of considering things like that. And I think that's a way, again, to kind of going back to one of your first questions was, how do you blend your artistic vision with what the client wants?
Mhm.
It's asking those right questions that fit in with your inspiration. I mentioned this kind of cultural heritage. I studied history. I studied art history in college. Like, I have an affinity for those types of things. So regardless of what they're going to tell me, it's still going to speak to me, right?
Yeah.
So I think, allowing them to imagine themselves becoming a client makes it easier to transition for them.
Yeah, I think this is just as another example of that, like that I try to do in my work is, or in my posting on uh, social media, is I will post a picture from, like, let's say a wedding, whatever. Whereas most people are going, "Oh, it's nice," but I don't understand the story that's of what is happening between these two people, because it's not the couple or whatever. Like, it's not like it's focused on, the couples who are like going, "Oh, that's what it is." It's saying like, "Oh, this is the, bride's aunt meeting the groom's, father or whatever for the first time. They went to the same college but never met or whatever." Like, there's some sort of
Mhm.
story there that's going on, and them having this moment together means a lot to my client. And I'm going to explain that I understood that that was going to mean a lot to my client
Mhm.
to get this moment,
Yeah.
so that they can then sit there and go, "Oh, I wonder." Yeah, like the same sort of thing, like you're saying. The wheels start turning for them, going like, "Oh, I wonder what sort of things I would really like to uh, see." When I get my photos back, it's always a question I ask my clients as well in that discovery call. What are you most looking forward to seeing when you get your pictures back? Like,
Mhm.
and you start to learn and people don't listen. People don't listen for the answers. They're giving you the answers. They're giving you what it takes to book them, and whatever. Like right there when you ask those sorts of questions, um, listen, and I find out so much about my clients that way, just by like listening to the asking questions about them and letting them go on and tell me like what they're most interested in and what it is about that, so that I can then say like, this is how my work fits into what you're talking about and what you're interested in.
Exactly. And, oftentimes I do get people who um, are really just admirers and they know that
Mm.
this is something they want, but they can't pinpoint exactly what it is yet.
Yeah,
And again, that's just knowing how to ask the right questions. But then I also get others that are like fully prepared. They have a list of things they want to do and it totally aligns and like we're good to go. So you just got to be prepared for both.
so what's been the most fulfilling thing for you about really focusing on your own like artistic style in your photography?
Um, Truth be told, whether it's artistic or not, it's the relationships that I've developed with the kids and their families. Um, for me, I know it has been a roaring success before I've even looked at a single image when the kids are leaving and they give me a hug goodbye.
Mm.
That tells me that it's not just about the images. Yes, that's obviously a very, very big part of it. But I've also created an experience for them. I've created a memory for them that every time they look back and see these images, they're also going to remember how we got them and they had a good time doing it.
Absolutely. And I think that sort of a kind of a wrap up question here. Like, what advice would you have for a photographer who's really looking to explore more of their artistic side, as far as like, they maybe feel hemmed in by trends or whatever the case may be, like who's looking to expand and grow in the artistic direction?
Sure. This is something I actually do in my workshops with students. So everybody get really prepared, get a pen, piece of paper, or, whip out the notes app on your phone because I have a fun little exercise. So this is all coming down to inspiration and kind of pushing and turning those wheels in your brain to think a different way. Um, I want you to first think of one thing that inspires you. Don't overthink it. What is the first thing that comes to mind? And write that down. I'm going to ask the same thing again. What is something else that inspires you, but is not at all related to that first thing? So you might have to think a minute,
Hmm.
but just go with what comes naturally to you. And now here's the fun part. Here's where you can really start to think of things is take those two pieces of inspiration and put them together. They're unrelated. They should be unrelated. So now you have to figure out how to combine these two things into a story. How would you put that together? How would you style that? How would you light that? Who are the subjects if there's more than one? Where is this going to be? Is it in studio? Is it outside a specific location? So now you really have to start thinking about what is tied to you internally as opposed to what's going on externally.
I think that's a really fantastic piece of advice. It's something I try to tell people is like to take the time to practice being creative, like to really like setting pen to paper, like actually like writing it down. I find helps make it more of a connection with the brain as opposed to like typing or like using a phone app. But yeah, like putting those ideas and those inspirations down on paper and like thinking, giving yourself the time to think about it, because I think that we live in a time crunch society where
Yes.
where it's always like gotta do things faster, be more efficient, blah blah blah, blah. But people don't give themselves, especially people who are trying an artistic pursuit, are always trying to get to the finish line, and they don't necessarily give themselves the time in the beginning to flesh out those ideas and to think creatively and to let the ideas flow.
Yes. And creativity is a muscle. You have to exercise it.
Hey, photographers, are you tired of using the same still poses with your clients, resulting in stiff and unnatural photos? Consider using Let's Be Real prompts instead. Prompts are not just a list of poses. They're designed to help you create a more engaging, fun environment for your photo subjects, resulting in more natural and authentic images. With Nerdy Photographer's Let's Be Real prompts, you'll have a unique set of prompts for couples, weddings, families, and individuals, ensuring that you never run out of ideas. Prompts are particularly helpful for clients who are nervous or self-conscious about having their picture taken. By giving them something else to focus on, they can become more relaxed and their reactions will be more authentic and less guarded. Using Let's Be Real prompts will not only help you create more fresh and dynamic images, but it will also increase your confidence and your client's confidence in you. You'll be able to handle difficult situations and subjects with ease, resulting in more satisfied clients and a stronger photography business. So start using Let's Be Real prompts from the Nerdy Photographer today and elevate your photography to the next level. Go to nerdyphotographer.com and go to our store, or click the link in the episode notes and get started creating authentic, engaging images today. Hey photographers, are you ready for a website glow up? Get supercharged with StyleCloud. StyleCloud offers beautifully designed, high-performing website templates built just for creatives like you. Whether you're showcasing weddings, portraits, or passion projects, you'll look as good online as your work does in print. Were you left high and dry and wondering what you were going to do with your Flow Themes website when the company shut down? No problem. StyleCloud makes migrating your Flow Themes site easy. Your content moves over, no stress, no mess. Plus, import your images directly from your PicTime galleries. No downloading, no re-uploading, just seamless integration and stunning design. Visit nerdyphotographer.com/recommends/StyleCloud or visit the link in the episode notes. Save 15% when you use code NerdyPhoto15 at checkout. That's nerdyphotographer.com/recommends/StyleCloud and use code NerdyPhoto15. StyleCloud isn't just a template, it's a launchpad for your brand. Get started today.
Hey. And now for my favorite part of the show. What's that say? Useless information. This is always death.
Holly, true or false? When dinosaurs roamed the earth, days were just 23 hours long.
True.
It is true. The Earth's rotation has been slowing over time, thanks to the moon. While there's no consensus on this on how long it actually was, scientists believe that during the time of the dinosaurs, the day was only 23 hours long.
Excellent. I'll be putting that into my bar trivia arsenal.
Yeah, you gotta have that stuff. This is why we have the segment on the show. Holly, thank you so much for being with us. Can you let everybody know where to find you on the interwebs?
Absolutely. So I have my website, hollylundimagery.com, and I am across most of social. So you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, TikTok, and I'm also going to promote a brand new app. It's called Photo.
I highly recommend it.
Photo. We love photo. So if you're somebody like me who's very much over the pushing of video and want to get back to sort of the original days of Instagram, chronological feed, no ads, just images, go check out Photo.
I was actually gonna bring that up after we finished recording. I was gonna ask you if you were there, because it is like I'm on it as well. It is just it's kind of nice to just sit there and like flip through people's photos and not have to worry about anything else. It's kind of become a Zen activity for me now. Like, I'm going to take 5 minutes and just like flip through some pictures and see some stuff, and like not have to be bombarded with video content or people, or ads.
Recommended posts. Yeah,
Yes.
it's just who you want to follow.
Right. Exactly. Oh, but you can also search for
Yes. Yeah.
like different topics, or like things you want to like. Oh, I want to see stuff. There's a number of tags. I think there's like something like 80 or 90 tags as of right now that you can kind of sort by and like say like, oh, I want to see black and whites. I want to see city stuff. I want to see animals or whatever. But yeah, I recommend it as well. Holly, again, thanks for coming on. You are more than welcome to come back anytime you want. Welcome back. While you were gone, the Jonesitos came by to check on their storage facility and decided to detain Fib and I. Don't worry, Fib's talking to them. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Holly Lund. You can find all of Holly's links in the episode notes. Be sure to go check it out. While you're clicking on links, be sure to subscribe to the show. Leave a review, because those are very, very, very helpful to us. And follow along with the Nerdy Photographer on social media at The Nerdy Photo. That's at The Nerdy Photo, no dots, underscores, or dashes, on Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, TikTok, Reddit. You don't want to miss out on the discussions that happen between the episodes. So, what do they say?
You'd know if only you spoke Jonesitos.
No worries. While you were talking, I had the rest of the crew position the ship so they can beam us and the artifact on board so we can get out of here. Oh, and I don't appreciate the jokes you made to them about the size of my head.
You've been studying.
Will wonders never cease? Until next time, everybody, stay safe and stay nerdy.
Who's that coming back to town? You better start listening. Who's your heart been beating about? You better listen.